What's going on, everyone? I am super excited today because we are playing the brand new no flip, always flip, dual try aspect Palpatine Sidious leader that we've got in set 3. Definitely the most unique leader by far, and we got a lot of things to kind of mess around with and play with here, and I think it's going to make a lot of sense as we actually start playing through the games. Before we do get into the deck tech a little bit here, big thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. Thank you for supporting the channel. And also, I have a TCG plan link in the description down below. Be sure to use it for all of your Star Wars Unlimited card needs. But let's talk about Emperor Palpatine or Chancellor Palpatine and Darth Sidious here before we get into some games. So, really unique leader. We don't have an actual body, actual unit attached to this leader. Instead, we get this kind of flip back and forth, be able to play heroism and villainy cards. I talked about Palpatine in my set 3 leader tier list. I think he's solid. I don't think he's absolutely absurd yet in my initial impressions and my initial testing, but I could be proven wrong. Front side, if a friendly heroism unit was defeated this phase, draw a card, then heal 2 damage from your base, and then you flip over into a cunning villainy leader. Then it says, if a villainy card was played this phase, you are able to use the action to go ahead and deal 2 damage to an enemy base and create a 2/2 clone trooper token. So the cool thing about this is that it kind of naturally progresses itself through the rest of the game. As soon as you get that first heroism unit to die, you get to flip over, get yourself that villainy leader, then play your villainy card, flip over after, and then have a clone trooper unit who's also a heroism unit to then flip back over to play villainy cards. Now, the cool thing about this is a heroism unit has to die in order to flip, but you only have to play a villainy card to flip it back. So the idea here is that we have kind of like this even split of heroism and villainy cards in the very early game. And then we have basically heroism or villainy cards for the rest of the time in order to take advantage of that, because we'll have way more heroism cards or villainy cards to flip us back, and we'll have that clone trooper token to flip us back to the villainy side. So early on in the game, we want a bunch of early heroism plays to flip us in that initial stage, and then villainy cards to take advantage of it. And realistically, what we really want is that clone trooper token alongside those 2 damage to really start to add up over the course of the game in order to make up the fact that we don't have an actual unit to flip into with Chancellor Palpatine. A couple of the new cards that we've got here for the deck. We've got General Grievous, Morgan Elspeth, and R2-D2 in terms of new cards. So not actually that many new cards. R2-D2 is actually a little bit unfortunate that he has got 4 toughness because he's actually not that great of a unit to die early on, but there are very few like high value heroism units on turn 1 in cunning vigilance besides like Clan Ren Rescuer and like some really bad ones. I still want a little bit of value, and R2-D2, well, his when played trigger is worthwhile to be in that spot where you probably won't be able to kill it on turn 1 or turn 2, but we also have got Queel, Lethal Insurgent, and Restored Arc to help do that. And even in a situation where we're not able to flip it immediately, we do have some turn 2 plays like Yoda, Concordon Interceptors, and Village Protectors to actually help us get to the later stages, in which we have General Grievous, Childson, Elspeth, Bosk, and then we have our late game finishers like Luke, Snoke, Avenger, which, well, we kind of just get to play the best of Vigilance Cunning later on in the game, which tends to be Luke and Avenger, and then Snoke, especially due to all the tokens that are running around. So we're going to see how much value this can accrue, and we're going to see what Palpatine can do. Very complicated leader, and this is definitely a leader which will require numerous amounts of testing, because how you want to divvy up the cards, at what point in the curve, how much of the curve do you want heroism, villainy, what actually works well. If you start adding different aspects, like instead of vigilance and being this like more controlling, longer grind them out type plan, you're going to be going like aggression or command. You could do all sorts of different things. So I'm really curious to see what we can do with this leader. And let's not waste any more time, and let's dive into some games here. All right, and to start us off, we got ourselves a matchup against the classic green Sabine. It's just the best deck that the AI can really pilot. This looks like a pretty fine hand to me. Definitely not going to mulligan this one. One of the things that we really want is a turn one play. Specifically, Queel is really excellent. I'm actually going to resource the other two resource plays that we have. And I'm going to start off with Queel. Queel's just super amazing to start off with. It's going to give us something that's most likely going to go ahead and die. Now, here's something that's really important is in this spot, normally you could just take initiative and it's not likely that your opponent will ECL something, but when you're playing Palpatine, there is consideration, like if I were to take initiative here, that you might want to ECL kill a Queel because it will stop the kind of chain from starting with Palpatine. And mind you, it's really good to start this chain in this matchup because of the 1 damage from Sabine instantly kind of getting negated by the heal from Chancellor Palpatine and starting that Clone Trooper chain. So we're going to pass here over taking initiative just in case, because if our opponent doesn't play anything, it's not like we really lost anything. And our opponent does play something, then we're pretty okay with what ended up transpiring. Now, here I got myself Village Protectors, Yoda. I want to keep 1 heroism play for sure, but I also want to keep a couple of villainy plays because, I'm saying because a lot, but because we're really looking for a way to kind of start going back and forth. But, well, didn't quite get a draw, and we didn't get a ground unit that we can trade into. And that's one of the downsides. Like, we don't really have control over defeating our own units, but we do have a couple restorers here, which is really nice. I'm going to resource one of these boss because at this point, it's not exactly that enticing. I can go ahead and attack with Queel immediately. Hopefully, I go ahead and draw a card. We did get a heroism play, which is nice. They're going to go ahead and get a Fleet Lieutenant down, which is also pretty nice for them, just getting in tons of damage. I'm going to go ahead and attack the Fleet Lieutenant myself. Get a Restore 2 in. And there's a Heroic Sacrifice, which I'm a little bit surprised on. Normally, you would do that for something a little bit less upgraded. So I don't think that was a very good play. We can go to get the Village Protectors down and get the shield going. This is one of those situations, again, if your opponent just completely lane dodges, it's kind of hard to start the chain. Now, we are going to get to start it eventually because we're going to eventually have some of our units slowly whittle down some of the ground units that they have. For example, here, I'll be able to attack into their Fleet Lieutenant with Queel, draw an additional card, and restore 1. And I'm not going to do it with Yoda because actually I'd rather keep the Restore around. And Village Protectors will actually keep Sentinel for that Yoda. Of course, they have a Spec Force Soldier, which is kind of funny, that they ECL'd out. Now here, we could flip in order to get out of Bosk, which I think I would like to do. So what I'll do here is just attack into their base with Village Protectors. They're going to, for a cause, hit us for, well, 3 damage, it looks like. We are going to flip Palpatine, give ourselves a little bit of a heal going. They're going to attack for 3. We are going to play Bosk, which is going to ambush and kill Sabine. And then we're actually set up pretty nicely because we will be able to play Power of the Dark Side, Childson, all manner of different cards here. Luke Skywalker's coming down potentially next turn, which is going to be pretty nice. I'm going to resource this Restored Arc 170, and I will probably just drop in a Power of the Dark Side here, just so that we can not take any damage well, get some value going, because we'll be able to flip Darth Sidious here. So I'll attack with Village Protectors, as it is something that we'll probably not be able to trade with anything. They have another for a cause, so we are taking a lot of damage back to back to back. I'm going to go ahead and flip Darth Sidious now because we want to guarantee that we can flip back over. Here, I will go ahead and attack the Battlefield Marine. Make sure they don't have any options available to them. They're going to take initiative. That's fine. We can play Lethal Insurgent. It's going to make them draw and discard something random, hopefully messing up any potential that they have. One of these Avengers can go to the resource pile. They got a timely Sundari Peacekeeper. They're going to kill one of our heroism units, which is going to allow us to heal. So now we can go ahead and heal. draw a card. And because they time lead out the Sundari, we can go ahead and play or attack in with the Lothal Insurgent. I should have potentially waited to flip Palpatine. I wanted to just heal immediately, but there was no threat because they did end up using all their resources on the timely Sundari, which I don't know how they ended up doing that. Even if they smuggled it out, it should have only cost 5. But we can then play Chilton and then reveal Grievous, Avenger, one of the Fellow Dragons, make it a 6/6, and then play a Grievous of our own. And then we can attack in with this Clone Trooper. And all the healing that we get from the front side is really paying off here. We also just have a lot of restore in general. And we just kind of have like these random value pieces that we're going to end the game with, right? We're going to be able to attack in for 6 here and then end the game with a Grievous to follow it up. So a pretty nice first game here. This was kind of a pretty poor initial start for us as well, because our opponent just completely lane dodged and went all space units when we had our early game ground units in heroism, right? Let's go ahead and mulligan this. In our second game against Sabine, we're really looking for early units that we can drop down to go ahead and start that chain. And we got an R2, not a card I'm extremely excited about, as it's probably not going to die on turn 2, but we do end up getting to discard a card, and then we can pick up a Yoda here, which is a perfect turn 2 play. Another heroism option, because again, we're not going to be able to... Oh, again, I should have passed and then took an initiative. It's kind of something that you do have to pay attention to. Morgan Elspeth. I ended up putting this card in because we can forcibly defeat a friendly unit, which is kind of interesting. But I think we can resource it because we're wanting to get down Chilton here. And I will just certainly attack to start us off and kill this Ketsu. They're going to for a cause. So now we are very far ahead because I'm going to go ahead and play a Restorer here. And we can start chaining off our heroism into villainy cards next turn. So we're going to take initiative. Going to go ahead and resource this Bosk. I think, actually, I'm going to resource this Concordant Interceptors. I know I could resource the Bosk to create a 5/5 Chilton, but I'm not actually insanely interested in that comparatively, just to keep Bosk in my hand, right? Fleet Lieutenant's going to come down. They're going to ECL, kill R2. That's fine. Definitely not something that I think a normal player would do, but now we can flip Palpatine, and it's very likely that we were going to be able to go ahead and flip Palpatine this turn anyways. And look at that, we drew another Vigilance card, which is awesome, because now their Sabine will just straight up die to our Chilton, which is going to be absolutely amazing. So absolute brick wall. We've managed to restore multiple points of damage, and now we are basically in the point of the game where it is unlosable. We can go ahead and get down the Bosk, but I think what we just want to start off with is, well, hitting their Fleet Lieutenant with Yoda. Get the free value in, get the restore going. This game is basically unlosable at this point. They got themselves a timely intervention, which is going to hit their Chilton, which is totally fine. I could have attacked with it first, which is something that I should have considered. But now, instead of playing Bosk, I can go to play the Client. No, I don't really care about trying to get like some bounties going. What I'll be able to do here is just flip Darth Sidious into Chancellor Palpatine and start developing a board. Next turn, I can go Power of the Dark Side if I want to. I could even play Chilton for like the maximum amount if I want to as well. I think I could resource the Client at this point. I don't need the healing. They're going to play a red 3, which is totally fine. I'm going to attack with Bosk here. It's likely our Yoda or our Clone Trooper will die. In fact, here I can go ahead and attack with Yoda. Go ahead and draw a card. And then they're going to go ahead and take initiative, which means that we can play. What do we want to play? I suppose we could just action over the Palpatine to draw an additional card. And I guess we can just play a Chilton. Like, I don't really see a reason to do anything else. So I'll go ahead and play out the Chilton, make it a massive 6/6 here. Reveal client, keep the Snoke, I suppose, hidden, and we can just hit their base. It doesn't really matter what we do here because our opponent is so far gone. They don't have any real way to put any damage. We just have way too much healing going on. And we have the board completely covered. 6/6 Sentinel. We've got a Bosk on the battlefield. We have 7 resource fresh. We have a Luke Skywalker that can come down next turn. We have double power of the dark side. That was pretty clean yet again. Let's do it a third time. And that was a much better hand to start us off. And well, I'm going to keep this hand as well. We don't have something that's most likely going to die on turn 1, but we can go ahead and resource this Avenger. And I think I'm going to resource this General Grievous because it's likely I'll go R2 into the Lothal Insurgent. Because I'm actually going to, well, I take it back. I'm going to discard the Lothal Insurgent and hope I can find something a little bit better. And I guess I found an R2, which is totally fine because I can actually defeat the R2 by playing another R2. So I'll pass here just in case they have something, but I don't believe there's anything on turn 1 that can kill an R2 from our opponent's side of the battlefield. So let's go resource this Lothal Insurgent. And then I will go ahead and attack with R2. And I think I'm going to play another R2. It might seem a little bit odd instead of just playing a Queel, but I think I'd rather start getting the chain going, get my draw card, get my heal going, and R2 also lets me sculpt my hand by discarding this Queel and hopefully finding something a little bit better. And look at that, we got ourselves a takedown, which I am totally okay with. And now we can use this action ability from Palpatine to go ahead and heal up that damage and draw even more cards. And the more important thing about this is the fact that we get to start playing the villainy cards and really getting some value going. Right here, I could go ahead and play Takedown, or I can go ahead and play Power of the Dark Side. I think I'm more incentivized to play the client, even though Takedown can actually kill the Sabine straight up and I can avoid damage. I'm actually not really concerned about that. Again, we just have so much healing, and because Sabine wants to come down this turn, we are very, very likely to have initiative on the next turn, which is going to let us take down Sabine anyways, right? And then we could still go ahead and start with this whole flip back and forth because we'll be able to attack with these heroism units. And because they went Darksaber on Fleet Lieutenant, I can go ahead and put a bounty on... what do I want to do? Put a bounty on this one. And yes, our opponent can kill one of these units with the Fleet Lieutenant, which is totally fine. But that's absorbed up some more damage. It's also done some more damage to that unit. And we can kind of solve that next turn anyways. We're going to be able to kill this Fleet Lieutenant with the Darksaber, heal up 5, and heal up an additional 2 from Chancellor Palpatine. Draw an additional card here. And now we can pass. We've got ourselves double Power of the Dark Side, a Snoke, Fell the Dragon. Concord Dawn Interceptors doesn't look all that exciting here. And now I will just go ahead and play Power of the Dark Side because it'll kill the Fleet Lieutenant. And then I can use Darth Sidious's action to create a Clone Trooper token and start flipping back and forth. I can go ahead and... do I want to try... I think I'll just go ahead and play the Yoda here. And then I will attack with the client into K2. Just get some damage going. Pass. Got double Fell the Dragon and restore Arc. I was thinking we could have done Power of the Dark Side, but I actually do like getting down the Yoda. So our opponent's going to hit the Clone Trooper here. I think they probably should have hit the Yoda, but that's okay. What we can do is... do I want to use Power of the Dark Side here? I don't think it's likely that our opponent's just going to have Sabine out. So I'm just going to attack Sabine. And what I mean by that is I was thinking I put a bounty on Sabine and then use Power of the Dark Side. But I think our opponent's going to play another unit. And it looks like they're going to ECL out a Cassian, which is pretty important. So I am just going to play Chilton and reveal the 4 vigilance cards I have in my hand. And then next turn, normally our opponent would not attack Chilson here, most likely if they have a bounty on it. So I'm just going to attack my opponent's base. And no heroism unit died this turn. Or did it? No, the clone trooper token died this turn, which means we get to flip this. Yeah, so we get to flip it, and then we get to pass, and we get to go ahead and play Snoke out. And that should be the end of the game. So we drop ourselves a Snoke. It's going to wipe their board. It's going to make it very difficult for any sort of card to really allow them to come back in the game. Even if they had like wreckers and such, it's going to be really tough. So I could even make this even more ridiculous. And I can go ahead and use this action from Sidious, flip back over. I can use the action from the client to hit the Sabine, and then hit the Sabine with Yoda. Restore 2, restore another 5. And I mean, there is a lot of healing just base level in this deck, which is pretty awesome. And then we get to finish off the game with a Snoke or the Lieutenant Chilson, which both can work. So let's go ahead and do so. Really nice couple of games here to start us off against Sabine. Let's move on to our next matchup. Feel like the boss green matchup, our opponent played pretty well, or AI plays pretty well. So we'll dive into the next game against boss green. This seems like a pretty reasonable hand. I'll resource this Luke Skywalker in one of these 2 resource plays. I'm actually interested more so in the Restored Arc here, because I think it's more likely to trade off than our R2. So I'm just going to start off with the Restored Arc. I will pass here, even though our opponent didn't have anything. They could have had something. I'm trying to think of what they could have had. They could have like a bounty underscore to deal an additional damage. They could have had Daring Raid, I suppose. I'm not sure if there's any upgrade that deals 1 damage to the unit if you upgrade it, which would have then triggered the Dengar. So I don't think there was anything that could kill it. So I guess we could have taken initiative there, but it's really not that big of a deal because I am just going to play the Village Protectors. She's going to give a nice shield, and they're going to ECL out Punishing One, which is totally fine with me. Had they played Punishing One, I still would have just sacrificed my Restored Arc into it because I'm interested in getting to the flip side in order for me to play some of these 4 resource plays that I have in my hand from the villainy side of things, right? They're going to attack for 3. I'm going to go ahead and kill their Dengar. And then the question is, do I want to get down a Chilson or do I want to get down a Morgan Elspeth? And I think I actually want to get down the Morgan Elspeth here. It's going to give me that restore, which is nice. And what it'll allow me to do is defeat this Clone Trooper token whenever I wish, draw an additional card, and start triggering all the things that I need to do. They got Bosk. They're going to be able to double claim this bounty on Village Protectors, which looks really nice. Oh, they grabbed a Punishing One, I guess. So they hit pretty poorly, it looks like, on that one. But that's okay. Let's go ahead and resource this General Grievous. So here, we can play a Power of the Dark Side, which would probably kill the Punishing One. I think that's okay. I think I'm fine with killing the Punishing One with Power of the Dark Side. They're going to Force Choke Morgan, which is going to let us draw a card. And here, I'm just going to attack their base for 3. Not going to defeat, just going to get the restore going. And I will hit our opponent's Bosk with the Clone Trooper so that I can go ahead and start flipping again with Chancellor Palpatine and start healing some more. Opponent's going to go with the Death Star Stormtrooper. They are running out of cards in hand, and there's not an insane chance that they're going to have nothing to play. Looks like they do have that Death Mark. And we get to take initiative here, and we actually can go ahead and... what do we want to do here? We have lots of heroism cards to play, but I don't think we actually want to play a bunch of our heroism cards. I think what we want to do is kill Bosk here. It's going to let him draw 2, but if our opponent killed our Morgan with the Death Star Stormtrooper, they get to draw 4, which is a lot better for them. And now we can just play Chilson, and hopefully this 6/6 is going to do some work. We get to flip Darth Sidious back, create that Clone Trooper token. And then we get to play an R2, which is going to be pretty cool because we could discard this restored arc, which isn't really doing a whole lot for us anymore, and then hopefully find one of our finishers. And we did find an Avenger, which is going to be a nice finisher a little bit later on. A couple removal options. I do like that. I think Queel is going to be at the stage of the game where we're not going to really get any attacks into it. They're going to play Overwhelming Barrage on their Reputable Hunter. So I am going to just immediately, because they have the Reputable Hunter pumped up, I'm just going to kill the Toro here with Lieutenant Shieldson. And then they can attack the Shieldson with the Death Star Stormtrooper. But they already killed something. So now I can already flip Palpatine. So I'm just going to go ahead and play. I'm going to go ahead and play the Fell the Dragon. I could have done Takedown as well, which I think I should have done. But I was thinking I go Fell the Dragon, and then I can flip Palpatine. And then I can get down this General Grievous. And then we pass. And then we got Queel here, which I can resource. And that's a Ruthless Raider, which we could go ahead and kill with Power of the Dark Side. And then we flip back Sidious. I suppose I should have attacked with Grievous. That was a little bit of a silly play, huh? They're going to kill R2. Wow. I'm not even paying attention at this point. I feel like the game is so over. But I should have attacked with R2 as well, because I didn't see them put the Bounty Hunter's Quarry on it. All right. Well, let's clean it up a little bit here, huh? Let's go take down on the TIE Silencer. They're going to take initiative. We've pretty much controlled the board to the point where I don't think we can lose. And ooh, that was a great draw. Got ourselves a Luke Skywalker. So even if we can't flip back over, but we will be able to flip back over. Even if we couldn't, though, we can just deploy the Luke Skywalker. But now we can go ahead and get this Clone Trooper defeated. Flip Palpatine over. Play the Avenger, which I'd rather play. They're going to defeat the Silencer. And now we got Avenger in play, which is going to start really closing out the game. And we have a bunch of removal. We have Luke Skywalker we can flip back into. Yes, they went ahead and killed the Clone Trooper token, but we can get a new one by playing this Bosk, or we can play Power of the Dark Side, which we ended up drawing. We can play No Good to Me Dead, all of which are very viable options. Now, we'll just go Power of the Dark Side. I know we could take initiative and potentially kill them, but why not have a little bit of more fun, right? Well, now they went ahead and played something else, so I'll just go ahead and take initiative and kill them. It's fine. It's fine. So really, really impressive stuff from Palpatine, guys. I mean, let's go again. But just the amount of value, the healing and damage every single turn is really, really impressive. Not going to mulligan this one. Lethal Insurgent and Lethal Insurgent can go ahead and go to the resource pile. I'm going to go ahead and play out this R2, discarding this Snoke to try to find something a little bit better. And that's a Concord Dawn Interceptors, which I will take just in case our opponent does not give us the opportunity to kill off a heroism unit here. But they are going to go ahead and play the Death Mark on R2, which is fine because I'm actually going to kill their Dengar. They can finish it off with Bosk, which is a fine play. But instead of playing the Concord Dawn Interceptors, we can now play General Grievous, which is just a 4/4, which is just going to be good. So we get to go General Grievous this turn instead of playing Concord Dawn Interceptors, which is not strong. Resource this Supreme Leader Snoke. Not exactly an amazing card in this matchup. They're going to go ahead and hit General Grievous, which is totally fine. We have a Power of the Dark Side, which is something I'm very likely to play this turn. They have a Death Mark, huh? All right, well, I changed my mind. I'm just going to go ahead and get down the R2 here, and I will discard this Concord Dawn Interceptors and hopefully find something better. Morgan Elspeth's going to come down. I was going to try to set up so I can actually go ahead and flip Darth Sidious, but I wasn't sure if they were ever going to get something down that I could power the dark side away. So I figured, all right, I'll just go ahead and bite the bullet and play out a 4-cost R2. Which is fine now because I'm going to get down this Bosk and I can go ahead and ambush the Reputable Hunter. Again, I should probably have attacked with General Grievous. I always forget that there's a bounty. I always forget that there's a bounty on my unit. It doesn't look right in force table here. Flip Darth Sidious. We got nothing to do. Let's take initiative. And, well, they open fire, kill our R2, double ramp. And that was a pretty good turn for them. No doubt about it. Let's go ahead and resource this Morgan. And I think I would just like to attack with the Clone Trooper token and then attack with Bosk and then just start using these. Ooh, that was an excellent one. That was certainly an excellent one. So now we flip Palpatine over so we can double power the dark side away the Bosk and the Ruthless Raider. Ooh. So they ended up having the Death Star Stormtrooper, which really put a hamper on our Power of the Dark Side plans. But that is okay, because now we can go Boss, kill their Death Star Stormtrooper, play Restored Arc, I suppose. So I guess we resource this Chilson. And this is going to start the chain yet again. So we go Bosk, ambush, kill Death Star Stormtrooper. And then we can go ahead and flip Palp, our Sidious into Palp, play the Restored Arc. They got a Super Laser Technician down. We take initiative. And that's a Luke Skywalker, which I am excited to play here. What do I want to resource? I guess Rivals Fall is not exactly that exciting right here. So now, let's go ahead and attack with the boss, because he's going to die. They're going to attack our base for 4. I will go ahead and attack their Super Laser Technician. I know it's not that exciting, but it ends up trading. And then we can go ahead and Luke away their Ruthless Raider. And then we get to go ahead and Chancellor Palpatine flip, which is going to be pretty nice. Okay, they're going to go ahead and IG, ECL, and then in conjunction go ahead and Toro me. So they got rid of the Luke, which they kind of needed to do. But now we're in a spot where you have a ton of resources, a lot of cards available to us. And now, ooh, perfect draw. Absolutely perfect draw. Avenger was literally the card I probably wanted the most. So I'm going to go ahead and attack with the Restored Arc, because they still have 6 resources and 1,000,000 cards in hand. It's very likely they'll play something more important that we can grab with this Avenger. And that's exactly what ended up happening. We get to hit the IG instead, and we still get a Heroism unit because we get to flip Palpatine back over. And I mean, look at how much value we're getting from this. This is really, really powerful. They're going to maul. They're going to kill the Clone Trooper, hit us for a decent chunk, which is totally fine. We'll just hit their base for a nice whopping 8 damage. They're going to take the initiative. That's fine. We're going to go ahead and flip over. Actually, let's go ahead and play the Village Protectors, then flip over. Not that it really matters, because we would have had to draw some other unit that cost like 1, 2, or 3 resources, like a General Grievous or something, or like the Client. And we'll pass. And the game is over. Really, really nice couple of games here from Darth Sidious, Chancellor Palpatine. They got timely. They can go ahead and kill whatever. It doesn't really matter. We just finished them off with Avenger. And I mean, this is probably the ideal control deck so far, guys. I mean, this has just felt really, really powerful throughout the entire time. Let's go ahead and fight ourselves against, find ourselves against a little bit more of a mid-range ramp style deck on Maul here. Seems like a reasonable hand. Not going to mulligan this one. Let's resource this Rivals Fall. Actually, this could be good against Maul. Fell the Dragon also is pretty good. I think Bosk is the resource. And maybe Rivals Fall is just too expensive here. Yeah, that seems reasonable. Let's go ahead and play out the R2 here. Do I want to discard a card? I think I do want to discard the Client and try to look for a Heroism unit, because I'm pretty sure we're not going to be able to get this R2-D2 killed here. Well, wait, what did I... Okay, we're going to resource the Concordata Interceptors now because we ended up drawing ourselves the Yoda. So we get to go ahead and attack into the Viper Probe Droid here. They got a Phase 3 Dark Trooper. We will play out the Yoda. And now we will pass. Fell the Dragon. Probably not a card we want to play here. But I think Avenger is just a little bit expensive for now. Fifth Brother's going to come down. They're going to ECL. They're going to hit Yoda for a decent chunk here. Wow, that was actually a really strong ECL. Yeah, that kind of changed the nature of this game. Let's go ahead and attack into their Phase 3 Dark Trooper just to see what we'll draw. So they're going to attack in for 4. And we have no plays here. And this is something that does happen in this deck. Every once in a while, you'll be in a spot where you have no plays because of how the resources and everything ended up. Let's go ahead and resource this Chilton. Yeah. So Maul comes down next turn. We haven't gotten a single flip out of our cards yet. There's a force throw. Anything that we discard is going to just get rid of the shield. So now we just hit pass. They're going to be able to overwhelm for a decent chunk here. Hit us for 3. We get to use the action ability from Palpatine. And now we got ourselves Power of the Dark Side. We got ourselves Bosk. Resupply is going to come down, which means Maul's going to be able to come down and hit us for a whopping 6 points of damage, which is really nice for them. We draw a couple cards. They draw a couple cards. That's totally fine. Let's go ahead and drop in Bosk to kill off the Phase 3 Dark Trooper. That's going to flip and allow us to... Oh, they're going to kill off Bosk and deal 5 to us. It makes reasonable amounts of sense. Let's get the Clone Trooper down. They got another Phase 3 Dark Trooper. We get to take initiative here. And drew ourselves another Luke, which I do like. Let's go ahead and resource this Queel. Now we get to go ahead and play Luke. Kill Maul. Just get rid of it. Let's pass here. Savage. Oh my gosh. Hit Savage for 2. So here, they made a mistake because they could actually have killed us. Instead of hitting Luke, they just hit the base. We would have died. Wow. Well, I guess not, because Savage would not have been readied up because they would have controlled equal units to us. So that's kind of interesting. But I can't actually flip Palpatine here because if I do, they take initiative and just kill me. So we have to take initiative here. And we got No Good to Me dead. Chilton. I think Chilton is... Maybe it's Bosk is too expensive. Yeah, I think Bosk is too expensive at this stage in the game. We're just going to attack with Luke, get a Restore 3 in. Then we can Restore 2 with Palpatine's flip here. And go ahead and draw a card. So let's go ahead and do that immediately. And then we get to go ahead and play Chilton. Just go ahead and reveal a bunch of cards. They got a Death Star Stormtrooper, which is fine. We're just going to go ahead and power the dark side away something. And they're going to defeat the Death Star Stormtrooper. We're going to pass. And that's a lot of heroism cards. That's a lot of heroism cards. They're going to overwhelm. Not actually, but they're going to try. We're going to attack in for 6 here into the Bo-Katan. That's a Kylo Ren. We are going to play No Good to Me Dead on the space units. Then we're going to be able to flip back over so we can start getting discounts on all these units. I should have actually done it the different way. I should have No Good to Me Dead at the Kylo because I'm planning on playing Luke to kill the Silencer. But instead I could actually just play Fell the Dragon on Kylo and then play out the Restore Arc, which works out as well because then we can keep Luke for next turn. We can resource one of these Village Protectors. That's Savage coming down, which we can give -3/-3. I think we just kill all their units here. So we restore 1. they're going to attack because there's not really much of an option. They get in for a little bit of damage here. But that's okay, because we get to use Palpatine's action to draw a card. And then we get to... I was thinking we play Luke. Yeah, that's fine. I guess I should have played the Village Protectors beforehand, but I was thinking we might be able to draw into some exciting villainy unit, but regardless, I should have played the unit because we're flipping different aspects. Something that does get a little tricky in this deck for sure is making sure you sequence your plays correctly. I should have definitely played the Village Protectors before flipping. I was thinking I could do both plays, and I could maybe draw into seeing more options, which is normally the thing you want to go for, right? Draw first so that you can see all your options, then play your cards. But in this, you want to play your cards, then flip because, well, you're flipping to a different aspect, right? General Grievous is going to be the least important card here. Luke Skywalker is pretty important, I will say. Just being able to get that Restore 3 going is going to be really, really big. Viper Probe Droid comes down. That's going to be an immediate trade. Really like that because it's going to allow us to flip the Sidious back over. Punishing One, we can definitely deal with that. I think I want to go Takedown first on the Punishing One. Then I want to play the Client. And then I'm going to flip and then play Village Protectors. I'm doing this over Chilton because Chilton's just going to be marginally bigger, but what's really important is having like multiple uses of that Sentinel, which is going to be nice. So they're playing a Darth Maul, which is going to be nice because it's going to heal us 5 with the Client. So here I'm just going to go ahead and play out the Restored Arc. Okay, they're going to go to attack it, which makes very little sense, because we wanted a heroism unit to die so we can continue to flip. How many silencers have they played? We get to go ahead and attack their Maul with the Luke. Not like, well, this is really necessary, to be honest. At this point, I could probably just ignore it and then hit their base because of Luke existing and us having a Sentinel. But this is like the ultra safe play. Now we can flip, draw something potentially, draw ourselves Chilton, or Power of the Dark Side, play Chilton, reveal, play Power of the Dark Side, and suddenly we are so far ahead. So far ahead. And I mean, this is a really, really powerful control deck. Really, really powerful control deck. Multiple times we've seen just like how much value you can accrue over a game, and it's really, really intense. So really nice one. Defeating them all. Let's try against another deck here. Let's do another set 3 deck here in Ahsoka. This is another little bit of an aggro, kind of go wide theme. So maybe this is something that can deal against what we got with Palpatine. I'm not going to mulligan this. It's a reasonable hand. I'm going to resource one of these Grievouses and a Snoke. We got the Restored Arc. Wow, they're taking initiative on turn 1. That is crazy. Well, that was just a bad hand that they kept. Here we can go ahead and get rid of probably the General Grievous. I'd rather have the Client because our opponent's probably going to have a lot of different... Ooh, interesting. I think I'm interested in just attacking the Millennium Falcon and playing the Client here. Because they're going to attack. We get to go ahead and flip. And then we get to play the Client and Power the Dark Side next turn. Drew ourselves Chilton as well, which is nice. That's a 6/6 Sentinel, which is going to work pretty nicely in this game. And Batch Brothers, I think Batch Brothers is pretty poor against us because what we could do is just, well, start killing off these units, right? With our 2/2s that we're going to infinitely create with Darth Sidious. So let's go ahead and flip. Get some damage to their base. Pass. Create a Clone Trooper token. Let's get this Restored Arc into our resource pile. They're going to give a Hot Shot Blaster to something. Okay. Let's just go ahead and attack with Chilton. Like, I don't really see a reason to go around and do a bunch of nasty stuffs. Let's go ahead and attack with the client. Let's go ahead and attack with the clone trooper. Not necessary, but I want the clone trooper to die so that I can start flipping again back and forth. Just continuously heal, continuously draw cards, continuously get that value. And now what I could do is play out another Chilton and, well, make it huge yet again. Queel can go into the resource pile. Power of the Dark Side, not exactly something that I really care about right now to deal with this Millennium Falcon, because we are 100% able to just absolutely crush it in terms of racing. Heck, I could even do something like put a bounty on this R2, play Bosk, ambush, kill the R2, heal 5, flip Darth Sidious, and suddenly the game looks a little bit one-sided. We even have Luke Skywalker on this turn to do some work. Nice. We'll just play Luke. Why not? Kill the Millennium Falcon. I mean, this game was an absolute stomp. Palpatine and Darth Sidious here are really, really powerful. If there's going to be some sort of control deck in the format, if there's going to be a deck that's a little bit more slow and grindy, Palpatine seems to be the way to go. Just this constant value accruing. It does everything that you want a more soft / hard control deck to be doing. More soft control, I'd say. You want to be playing to the board. You don't care if your units die early on, which is perfect. And then it transitions you into playing your villainy removal or your villainy cards, right? That are a little bit more powerful, like the client, the Chilton, the power of the dark side. All of those are a little bit more powerful, which is why villainy decks tend to be the hard control decks. And then what ends up happening is you start that cycle over again, but it's actually a win con because you're dealing damage to your opponent's base. You're creating 2/2s, which then end up healing, clear out their board more, draw you into more answers. It does everything that you want. It is really powerful. But we're going to talk about it more here as we close out with the deck. So what do we learn with Palpatine Blue? Well, the big thing is this seems really powerful. There are a lot of different shades of Palpatine that you could take it. As I mentioned, as soon as you start adding command, cunning, double cunning, potentially aggression, these other aspects, the whole deck changes, right? This deck is like 80% vigilance cards because we're playing the really controlling style. There's also options where you can play the more like mid-rangey style, like potentially trying to ramp into big things and using these like heals and card draw to really keep you up on cards. I think this is the best way to go about things, is going the controlling route, because it kind of fits exactly where you want to be with Palpatine. But there are a lot of really, really solid options here, right? Like the fact that you only have to play a villainy card makes this so much better, right? You play your early game heroism units. That 2/2 that you create is then a heroism unit on the flip side. So by playing a villainy card, it sets you up, chains you into the next thing. And these villainy cards are exactly where you want them, right? In a normal control deck, when you're playing villainy, the really important parts of the curve are 3 resources, 4 resources, 5 resources, those parts of the curve, and then the end game, right? Because the end game closers are what you really want in a hard control deck comparatively to your heroism units, right? Chilton, Power of the Dark Side, Client, these are really high value villainy cards that you can get down on turn 2 because of the flip. And that's really important, right? And then as you go deeper and deeper, you just get this accruing value that's constantly keeping you topped off on HP, starting to provide a win condition. And then as you're going through, you can flip over, use the most powerful heroism card in Luke Skywalker, arguably, and then use the most powerful villainy cards to finish off the game alongside your suite of removal options, your powerful sentinels, and all the other things that you got going with it, right? This clone trooper, you kind of just treat it as like 2 damage, right? Like 2 damage to an opponent's unit, and it ends up being that way. It's pretty powerful. I'm not sure if it's going to be absolute meta, but if I were to rank, as I did, the laters, even after my first impressions and after I started testing out all these leaders, and I did do some testing before I did the tier list, I would still put Palpatine up there on the higher end of the tier list. Definitely one of the ones I've been way more impressed with overall as I've gone through and tested out a lot of them. So with all that said, thanks for watching, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed. Let me know what you're thinking about Palpatine in the comment section down below, and I'll see you all for the next one.